we've got more shocking stories for you. A nation of criminals. We'll show you some things that will literally horrify you. But it's happening in our country as our laws have run amok. A nation of criminals. But in the political realm, Marco Rubio, attractive senator from Florida, is being considered as the probably top pick for the vice president spot on a Romney ticket. And he may be asking now, should I run or should I not run? Terry?
Boy, you'd like a list of who all those candidates are, wouldn't you? But Rubio is one of the leading candidates for the vice presidential spot. And as Ephraim Graham reports, the speculation about who Romney will pick is rising.
There is no shortage of contenders for the vice presidential pick. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels, Ohio Senator Rob Portman, and GOP budget leader Paul Ryan. But perhaps the most talked about is the young freshman senator out of Florida, Marco Rubio. He recently appeared with Mitt Romney at a campaign event in Pennsylvania.
His name is Mitt Romney, the next president of the United States.
That campaign appearance only adds to speculation Rubio is at the top of Romney's short list. Recent polls show President Obama has a strong lead among Latino voters, but Latino leaders say their community is naturally conservative, and they just need to feel support from the GOP.
That Republicans love Hispanic Americans, that Republicans embrace the Hispanic American narrative, that Republicans are opposed to illegal immigration, but in favor of legal immigration. That's what they need to hear from the Republican Party.
What we've found in the last two elections, the midterms and now the 2012 presidential elections, is a lot of Latino disillusionment. And a lot of it had us to do with the kind of feeling of having a setback around immigration reform.
Rubio is the son of Cuban immigrants, and his wife is Colombian. And some say when it comes to Hispanic voters, Rubio has what it takes to turn things around for the GOP. For now, Rubio is dodging the question about being vice president and says he's going to stand back and respect the process.
Our nominee, Mitt Romney, the leader of the Republican Party, has a vice presidential process in place. And I think from this point moving forward, I think it'd be wise for all Republicans to kind of respect that process, and myself included, and say moving forward, we're going to let his process play itself out. He's been a great decision maker throughout his career in both the private sector and in politics. He's going to make a great choice.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Well, I think the smart money is on Rubio. The GOP needs the Hispanic vote, the Latino vote, whatever you call it, and Rubio would be the ideal choice. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Pat, the number of illegal Mexican immigrants living in America has dropped for the first time since the Great Depression. The Pew Hispanic Center says the bad U.S. economy has resulted in fewer jobs, so many immigrants have simply returned to Mexico. Just over 6 million unauthorized Mexican immigrants were living in the U.S. last year. That's down from a peak of nearly 7 million in 2007. Other factors in the shift: tightened border controls, a rise in deportations, and a decline in Mexican birth rates. The White House moving toward developing ties now with the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist groups in the Middle East. National Journal reports the president believes he has no choice but to cultivate the Brotherhood and other groups that he believes are relatively moderate. One State Department official tells the magazine, quote, "The war on terror is over, and now the Arab world must find a route to democracy through Islamism." But those moves may hurt the president politically. Greece's economy is sinking even deeper into recession now. That's the forecast from the country's central bank. This will be the 5th straight year of recession for Greece. It's already received 2 bailouts to help get it out of its debt crisis. Greece has tried to cut spending, but that's met with a lot of violent protests. If Greece is going to get more financial help, it will probably have to cut even more, and that move would also probably be unpopular. Pat?
Well, I think the Greeks are going to have to go to the drachma and get out of the European Union. They can't stand the financial strictures that are being imposed upon him by this single currency. So, excuse me, I believe the people in Europe don't stand for any kind of austerity. They're throwing out government after government because they refuse to take the necessary intelligent adult steps to get their house in order. They want free things, and they don't realize that no government is God.
America's Social Security Fund could be wiped out by 2033, just 20 years from now. In its annual report to Congress, trustees blame a weak economy and higher energy prices for shortening the life of the fund by 3 years. And Medicare's hospital insurance fund is still projected to run dry by 2024. The trustees urge Congress to address both programs as soon as possible, but no action is expected before the November election. Pat, back to you.
Well, they call it the third rail of politics, Social Security. But like it or not, folks, those two programs are going bankrupt. Medicare is going bankrupt quicker. I was thinking about Medicare. Do you realize that probably 1/3, or at least 30% of all the procedures that take place in medicine are defensive? Defensive against whom? Against lawyers who are trying to sue them for malpractice. And so they're test after test after test to prove that a doctor isn't negligent. It's just standard, and it's adding enormously to the cost. If we're going to reform Medicare, we need to reform torts. We need to have tort reform of medical malpractice. There's one thing to say if somebody was injured, he gets his money back. That's fair enough. You put him on his feet, you give him the hospital care he needs, and if he's out of work, you get him you take care of his job. That's a far different thing from punitive damages, because you were bad and therefore we're going to punish you and we're going to sue you for $5 billion and split the money up among the lawyers. But the lawyers are fighting it like crazy because they're the big donors to the Democratic Party. And of course they don't want to give up this honeypot. This is the greatest thing in the world. Every time a medicine comes out, they can sue the manufacturer. They can sue, class action suits. And the lawyers get 30%, 35%, even up to 50% of the recovery. Who needs that? We've got to stop it. We've got to also recognize the fact that people are living a lot longer. They're not dying at 60 anymore. They're not dying at 65. They're not dying at 70. People are living longer, and so Social Security has got to extend. They can't be paying at 65 or 60. They can't do it any longer. The payment has got to reflect the lifespan of the average American, which is much, much longer. We're in the 70s now, and the fastest growing part of the population are those over 80. So we just have got to make a change, and Congress and the people in government have got to recognize it. But Obama has absolutely refused. He has refused to take any action whatsoever on entitlements. And instead of embracing what Paul Ryan has done with an creative solutions, he merely talks about social Darwinism. Well, that's nonsense. We can reform medicine. You know, the biggest problem we have in medicine, though, is that we don't know who pays the bill. Terry, when you go to the hospital, do you know who?
It's very complicated, very complicated. I just watched with my parents going through some things. My mom had some health problems, and the paperwork involved in that is just unbelievably complicated because there are so many parties involved in the process.
Well, the average person doesn't know who's paying. I mean, and doesn't care. I mean, as long as they've got health insurance, or if it's on Medicare, just send the bill to Medicare. I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah. Whereas if you have to pay for it yourself, you're going to analyze everything. What do you mean charging me $20 for that? I didn't have that, you know, and you begin to get some control.
Well, where there's a lot of paperwork, it's easy to overlook some of
it's paperwork and third-party payers. Yeah. That's the, you know, instead of the guy who gives the service and the person who receives it should have the direct link, but they don't. There's a third party involved, and sometimes 4 or 5 parties.
Exactly.
Well, it sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie. A company known for making big money off space ventures announced that it plans to mine nearby asteroids. Yeah, the plan is to use robotic spaceships to extract valuable minerals like platinum and gold out of asteroids whizzing by Earth. Several big-name investors on board, including filmmaker James Cameron and Google CEO Larry Page. The first step is to launch a series of telescopes to search for asteroid targets. We'll keep you posted. Academy Award-winning actor Russell Crowe will play Noah in a big-budget Hollywood movie. Oscar nominee Darren Aronofsky will direct the film. He also wrote the screenplay along with 2 other writers. One of them is John Logan, who's been nominated for 3 screenplay Oscars. The film is being produced by Paramount and New Regency Productions. Paramount says Noah is a close adaptation of the biblical story of Noah's Ark. In a world ravaged by human sin, Noah is given a divine mission to build an ark to save creation from the coming flood. We'll have to wait to see it for a while. It won't be released until March of 2014. It sounds like a good one. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.